Welcome back to From the Backseat Football Podcast. We are back with another episode to run through the weekend games. And it's a very exciting day today because Jack's not here. Only joking. That's not true. Jack, if you're listening, I love you really. But it is very exciting. We have a new member of the FTBS team. His name is Dan. Dan, how are you today? It's great for you to be here.
I'm good, thank you, Hugh. Appreciate the welcome.
No worries at all. And of course, we have longtime friend Ashley Jones. Welcome back, Ash.
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me.
No worries. It's good to have you boys with us. So it's been a bit of a weird week, right? I don't really know what's going on with the scheduling, but there's actually not that many games. So it should be quite a punchy episode. So we're going to jump straight in, basically, to my favourite subject, which is Arsenal. 5-0 against a very bad Crystal Palace. Dan, let's start with you, mate. Did you watch the game?
I did. I'm glad you caveated with a bad Palace team because you've played them at an incredibly opportune time, right? They are struggling to score, struggling just generally, and but really impressive result. I think it firmly gets you guys back in the title race. But the struggling Palace team.
Yeah, we really needed that, and can I just say it's so nice to see us score from open play again. We've become a bit of a Stoke City under Tony Pulis. Just a bit sexier, do you know what I mean? It's just...
I mean, Arteta did, build his trade at Everton. Very similar style of play back then, right? So,
yeah, the contrast between last season when we were free flowing and scoring loads of goals, and then we can only score from corners now. It's just really annoying.
Very satisfying to score from a corner, though. I must admit that.
It's true.
I feel like there's not that many goals from corners. Don't know any stats to back that up.
And I feel like you take those chances. It's a free goal, right? If you're constantly scoring from set pieces, you're just a threat all the time. There are certain teams that they'll get a corner, but they're not going to do anything, or a free kick, and it's going to be skied over. But with you, that potency, and Gabriel does have the biggest head in the world, so it makes it a lot easier.
He does. For me, I think this season he might be outshining Saliba, which last season was unthinkable. But he goes about his business, doesn't he, Gabriel?
Yeah, but I think that it's one of those. So Saliba, similar to Van Dijk, he makes players around him significantly better.
That's true.
Joel Matip last season was our best defender. At least he looked like it, right? But it was because Van Dijk was being Van Dijk, right? Same with this season. Konate, Matip at the start of the season, they all look class. What's the common denominator there? Van Dijk's next to them, right? They mess up, Van Dijk's there. I think it's the same with Saliba and Gabriel. Gabriel can be a little bit more aggressive, can dive into things because Saliba's always going to be there.
It's a very good point. I think Saliba is almost a bit like Van Dijk, like you say, it's almost like knowing that he's there and he's got the recovery pace means that you can play a bit more out of your comfort zone, right? And be a bit more aggressive. So that's a good point. Yeah.
And then you've got Rice, obviously, to fill in there as well when you need it.
Oh, mate, Declan Rice. I can't believe he signed for Arsenal. I can't believe it.
And you're still not going to win the league.
I know. And he's done his hammy as well, it looks like. So that's not a really big concern, right?
Yeah. I mean, who have you got to fill in for him? That's it's Partey, right?
Yeah, I don't know where Partey's
been. Nene, maybe?
Don't say that, mate.
You've got Jorginho. You'll be fine.
I wish we could play Crystal Palace at home every week. Let's talk about Palace. Is it time up for Roy? What do you think, Dan?
Mate, go on.
Yeah, I think they stick with him to the end of the season. I think they had to do something in the summer. That was the decision. He's 75, bless him. He had to miss a game or a couple of games because of health last season. So probably the Palace owners, just on reflection, just saw the teams coming up, being promoted, and thought, we'll stick with Roy. They obviously didn't have a big plan in the summer, but I think they've got to stick, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't you think, though, that the Palace team should be doing better, right? You look at their team.
Palace are one of those teams that they've always got those enigma-like players. They used to have Zaha and Balassi, and now they've got Eze and Elise, and it's kind of they've got these talents who could be world beaters, but are in the Palace team with the likes of James Tompkins and Nathaniel Klein at the back. Do you know what I mean?
Shocked that Klein's not playing. Massive.
I'm gonna stick up for them here, though, Palace. I think I saw a stat that Elise and Eze, both ballers, have not really played together many times this season.
Yeah.
Both been injured. They've lost Zaha as well. He won them or got them so many points last season. So Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that going back to the Roy Hodgson point, it just builds stability. Crystal Palace don't have the money to be constantly pushing for the top. They also can't risk being relegated, right? And Roy Hodgson is just a safe bet. I mean, what's the alternative? Neil Warnock, right?
I'll bring it back.
And I think that, fair play to Roy Hodgson. I think he kind of works wonders with a team that they're not free-flowing. They don't score loads of goals, but they grind out results when they need them.
Yeah, comfortably mid-table. Yeah. I just think, in my head, and I have a theory on Roy Hodgson, and I'll run it by you too. He retired, right, before he took the Palace job. I think after a career non-stop in football, he's gone home to the wife, poor Sandra. 6 months of that, he's thought, fucking hell, lads.
I've had enough.
Get back out on the training pitch. Can he deal with this?
Yeah, I 1,000,000% agree. He's gone home and he's thought, nah, fuck this. It's a life of beer, or it's back into football, right? So he's gone back in.
Yeah, I agree. You just look at Fergie and you look at Redknapp. They're just constantly doing like punditry or like watching games. I feel like they don't spend much time at home with the wife. With Palace as well, they obviously tried with Vieira, and they got massively burned with Frank de Boer. Was it Frank de Boer before?
Yeah.
So there's definitely there's some reticence, isn't there, to like make a change. But yeah, next, I think in the summer they're going to have to.
Yeah. I mean, Roy Hodgson can't go on forever, right? It's what happened with Gerard Houllier. He went on too long and unfortunately ended up passing away from heart-related issues, probably caused from years of stress, right? You never want to see that happen, right? So I think that it probably is Roy's time, but I mean, fair play to him at 75. I expect to be on a beach in Thailand somewhere, drinking cocktails every day, doing absolutely sod all. So
I will still be working at 75. So
in all fairness, the way the cost of living is at the moment, I think we'll be working till we're dead, mate.
You know what? I just hope to make it to 75, and then once I get there, we can worry about that.
We'll see what happens.
But not to dance on Roy's grave. But it was interesting because Graham Potter was in the crowd with his sons. What do we think about that? That makes a lot of sense to me.
I mean, it's a great project, right? I think, we've seen Graham Potter minus Chelsea is a great project, manager. And I think that if anyone can get more out of this group of players, he's definitely one of those people.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, before we move on. Oh, sorry, Dan.
No, I was just going to say, big Graham Potter fan. He's from Solihull, where I'm from. I think this sounds like silly to anyone outside of like Palace or Brighton, but the rivalry there, I think that might be a reason that Potter won't go there, or it will get vetoed. I can't explain why they're rivals. It was some kind of cup game or something in like the 80s, but they really do not like each other.
Yeah, that's a very, very fair point.
It's a spiteful rivalry. That would be so funny if he went to Crystal Palace, actually. I hadn't even considered that part. Well, I hope to see Potter back because he actually had a really good stint at Brighton. And I think, obviously, hindsight 2020, but he should never have left. Okay, question on Palace, right? A lot of good young players. I reckon Elise would be perfect to replace Salah, who, no offence, actually is leaving in the summer. I hate to say it, he is. Okay, but if you could cherry pick one of Palace's players, put into your respective teams, Dan obviously supports Aston Villa. I should have qualified that. Who would you take?
Eze and Heartbeat.
Eze over Elise. So I'm an Elise guy. I just think Elise's just got that swagger on the right wing.
See, I would tend to agree with Elise or Gahey. Elise, to step into Salah's boots is a big, big task, and I don't think he could get there, but I don't think he's that caliber to replace Salah straight away. Like, replacing Salah is going to be a massive thing for us, and you can't just get someone who's nearly there. We kind of need to go out and be like, I don't know, we're going to get Osimhen and shift Darwin to the wing or whatever it might. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be like, not that it will ever happen, because let's be honest, FSG will throw £2.50 at them.
I was about to say, with FSG, man, it's not happening, is it?
But yeah, for me, actually, I like Mark Gahey and Eze. I think they'd be great fits to the team. So would Elise, but not as a start.
Take all three, man. Take all three.
Yeah.
At least with Elise and like Salah, they're both incredibly left-footed. So there's similarities.
So it feels like a natural kind of successor, right? Because
It does.
Similar players. Well, actually, they're not similar players at all. But
Same time, I like Kudus at West Ham, but that's a conversation for another day, right?
Yeah, doing bits in the AFCON, wasn't he?
keeping an eye on Ashley, inside agent.
There we go. My family are from East London, so I'm just at the Olympic Stadium all the time. Being like, come on, mate, come to Liverpool. You know what you want to do.
Fair enough. Well, we're going to move over to West London. Brentford 3, Forest 2. Big game, controversial game. I want to start with the VAR and the magic spray. Forest have put a complaint to the PGMOL. I blame Arteta for all this nonsense, all right? Everyone's going to complain to them now. Okay, we all know the incident, but I'll just reiterate it for anyone who doesn't know. Free kick, Tony, 19 minutes. He moves the ball a bit above the spray. What do we think, boys? Should it be disallowed?
It's one of those ones. It's the dark arts, right? The referee hasn't seen it. Every player does. David Luiz did it a few years ago for you, taking a free kick. Do you know what I mean? Like it happens. I think it's just the limelight is on Tony because they brought him back like he's the Undertaker because he cheated. Like it's a bit weird. And Jamie Carragher saying, "Oh, he was always going to get man of the match. Today was about him." Like I don't know. With VAR there, should they have overturned it? Yeah. Is it in the letter of the law for them to overturn something like that? Probably not. So it's in those grey areas, right?
What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I'm with Ash. Like, it's not. I don't think it's in the rule book about moving the phone, and there's like leeway with how you can move the ball. It's on Nottingham Forest. I'm embarrassed, like, for the players, and like embarrassed for the fans for like their team writing a letter. It's just let it go. Like,
yeah.
But this is where I think VAR has brought everything into disrepute, right? Like every small decision, every small kind of inconvenience to your team is now like, well, that should be found out by VAR. So I guess my next question is, objectively, has VAR improved football or has it actually made it even worse? Because the idea, right, is that we were eliminating these mistakes. But now I kind of miss the days when it was a referee's call, right or wrong, might go for you, might not, leaves a little bit of, chance, right?
So I think that in circumstances where it works, obviously great, especially when it comes to things like red cards, when someone's been given a straight red and it's never a red. Great. Offsides, it should be automated. Like, we have the technology there. There's no need for VAR, right, if we automate it. But I think that the big problem with VAR is the FA, the PGMO, MOL haven't upskilled the referees. So they don't know how to handle the stress of using VAR. And so they just panic, and it's clear to see that they panic every time. So I think it shouldn't have been implemented without proper training. Now, they may turn around, respond to the pod going, we spent millions of quid on... They probably don't. They probably didn't, right? But I don't know. I think in theory, it works, but it's the people behind it.
Because there's still that human element that makes the mistake, right? And we've seen so many fuck-ups already.
It just proves like how difficult the job of a referee is, though. Like,
yeah, of course.
If you're under the microscope like that's fucking tough. Like,
it also undermines the referee, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Because if they make a decision and it gets overturned, the next time they're going to be too scared to make a decision. They'll wait for the VAR, even if it's a subconscious thing. So, yeah. But that's not even the biggest controversy, right? Neil Maupay hits the winner, absolutely fuming in the Forest bench. God, it was up in arms, wasn't it? Hit his hand, didn't hit his hand. What do we reckon, lads? Dan, what do you reckon?
I didn't see it hit his hand. No, definitely. I think you can't take it. No, it didn't hit his hand. It didn't. You can't take a goal away from Maupay as well. The little.
Nah,
the guy
fucking hate Maupay. Nah. Maupay derailed our season. Yeah, I still hate him, mate.
No.
Wow.
He's one of those
Neil
players.
Maupay, he paved the way. He paved the way for Emi Martinez, didn't he? Do you remember the butterfly effect with
that is so true.
with Bernd Leno? So, in a dark way, I like him, but his shithousery is another level. But yeah, I think it didn't hit his hand. Like, that was clear. And just on VAR, like, if it was, we've gone too far now, we can't go back. But if it was just quicker, like, it takes too long, and it's the refs. They're just scared to make a decision. Like, who would really want to be a referee these days?
But that whole gone too far in the phase of play situation is just BS. Because one week they'll go 3 minutes back, The next week it's only 10 seconds. Like, make your mind up. There has to be a limit there. Just go, it's a flat 20 seconds. If VAR flags something in 20 seconds, we'll go to VAR. If they don't, play on. Because again, it's that ambiguity that he was talking about, where it's like, was it handball? Wasn't it handball? We don't know. Too far back. VAR aren't going to check. Why have they not checked? It's all rubbish, isn't it? But I mean, fair play to Brentford. They got the win. You know, I feel sorry for Forest. You know, it's a good day when Chris Wood scores. I mean, he's doing well at the moment. You know, it's like talking about shithouses like Neil Maupay. Look at Chris Wood. He's having a bit of a resurgence.
Big Brexit striker, but not the biggest striker in the game. I want to talk about Tony's return. Full of controversy, right? Given the captain's armband, even though he's actively trying to leave the club. If that was your club, how would you feel about that?
I think it's a little bit uncomfortable that he's been welcomed back for essentially like breaking the rules, and it's kind of forgotten, and it is just a little bit uncomfortable. But you can't kind of refuse that he's like unbelievable. Like, I do think he's the man for Brentford. He'd not played for 8 months. Like, he was a little bit rusty, but he had serious like involvements in that game. Like, pretty good hold up play, great passing, and the free kick. We chatted about moving like the phone, but the execution was brilliant, and he lasted like the entire game. Don't know how he did that. Most players would have come off with cramp after like 60 or 70 minutes. So.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we've seen stuff like this happen before. You know, look at Suarez with the whole Evra situation, slotted straight back in, right? He bit someone, slotted straight back in. Do you know what I mean? Like, you, as a fan base, you kind of just forgive it if they're as good as they are. And Tony is the guy who puts Brentford on the map, right? And as much as he slags off the club, talks about wanting to leave, he's not left yet. He's still there. He's still scoring goals.
Put it to one side.
Yeah. Now, when he leaves, that's when you might see the spite, the hatred, you know, people burning his shirt. That might happen then. But until then, you know, he delivered at the end of the day, didn't he?
I wonder how much money he put on himself scoring first. I'd love to know that.
1 million% he put at least half of his weekly wages on it.
Somehow.
All right, well, quick word on Forest as well, right? So they've replaced Steve Cooper, bit of a Forest legend, took him back up. They've replaced him with Nuno, which to my eyes is a bit uninspiring, right? They look in trouble. And it's lucky that everyone's getting deducted points, it seems, this season, because they would be right in there otherwise. I think they could go down, you know.
I mean, aren't they up for getting deducted points?
Oh, yeah, of course they are, aren't they?
So,
that would be awful.
If they get a 10-point deduction like Everton got, see you later, goodbye. Like, it's as simple as that. Nuno isn't an inspired signing for them, in all fairness. I think it's a bit of a weird one. Like, he did well at Wolves, but he kind of had the infrastructure there at Wolves already. And then they had that weird Portuguese connection where he stole like half the national team. You know, but
those dodgy deals with Jorge Mendes, right?
Yeah, but I think Forest it's just not a very nice project, is it? They spent a load of money coming up. They can't spend any more money. The team's relying on Chris Wood to do the magic, right? It's only so far that can take you.
Yeah, we spoke a lot on their scattergun transfer strategy last year. I mean, it was mind-blowing, wasn't it? Every day they were signing someone new. Yeah. They had like 4 left-backs at one point.
Was it like 28 players they signed in the summer transfer window?
It was like they were just given a transfer budget on Football Manager, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts.
And then they went and signed Lingard.
I suppose, the counter-argument is you've got to gamble, right? Because you don't want to come up and then just go straight back down, which is what a lot of teams do, so fair play to them. But with this point deduction, and if it happens, and clearly there's a precedent now of it happening to Everton, I don't see them having that kind of siege mentality. I see them down in tools, because you can't have a squad spirit when you've got 20 new players within a year, right? Yeah. In my head, anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think what they've earlier in the season they lost from like winning positions like far too often. I think they were like 2-0 up at Bournemouth at home, and then threw that away, and that was just a really bad sign, very early on.
Yeah.
Fair play. It's been a very controversial weekend, actually, looking at the next fixture we're going into. Sheffield 2, West Ham 2. Dan, you were watching this one live. Give us your rundown. What happened here?
Well, conditions made it an interesting watch from like a quality perspective. The passing was like lacking at times, but there were some decent goals, and just the finale to the game was absolutely nuts. I mean,
talk us through it, man.
yeah, I mean the McBurney like penalty, even it was a penalty. Like I agree, I think goalkeepers are like overwhelmingly like overprotected by like referees. But Areola did get a full-on McBurney elbow to the face for the foul as well. But like that was a penalty. Fine, McBurney slotted it after like waiting for ages. But it was 100% a penalty for Bowen down the other end. Defender just wasn't looking at the ball, and then the ref gave a handball against Bowen like instantly, and VAR didn't seem to check it as well, which was just everyone was bemused. So
I don't know. Saying that, I don't think McBurney is. I don't think that's a penalty. Like, I'm sorry, the goalkeeper's doing his job. He's come out to claim the ball. He's full on taking an elbow to the head, and he's the one that's, in the shit for it. Your guy Emi Martinez would be in trouble every week if that's a penalty. Do you know what I mean?
We'd have to watch it back. We'd have to watch it back. But I'm pretty sure that there's contact. Like Areola makes contact on McBurney like first, and then he just gets an elbow to the face. That's undeniable.
Yeah.
I
guess the thing is, it's one of those. Is it a clear and obvious mistake, as they always say, right? And I don't know. It's hard to tell, right? You could argue both sides, as we've just done there. For me, never a penalty, but for Sheffield United fans, clear and obvious penalty, right? One of those.
Yeah, it's always ambiguous, like you say, right? Keeper collides with player. It's kind of like, which way do you look at it? Because as you say, the keeper's coming for the ball, but then does he stop McBurney from scoring?
But I don't think VAR should interfere in those situations. It's too subjective. Do you know what I mean? Like, it should be black and white decisions, offside. Basically, that's it. It should be offside. Was the ball over the line?
I think there should be a VAR light, right? Just automated, like the World Cup. It's just automated. And it was like, oh, okay, cool, that's fine.
And what I don't understand, tennis have Hawkeye. Why do we not just have Hawkeye in football? Right? Look, Arsenal complaining about the ball being out of bound. I can't remember. There's another game as well. Like, Hawkeye would fix that. Like, we can eliminate so much pressure on VAR by adding in these things. We've got goal line technology. Why is it only restricted to the goal line?
Exclusively to the goal line.
Yeah. Like, you can see if a ball is literally half a millimetre over the line, but you can't see if someone's offside or not because you've got to draw these stupid lines. Like, do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. But I think that it highlighted the issues with VAR very clearly. It's too subjective a decision. I mean, West Ham 1,000,000% should have had a penalty. I don't think that's subjective, so I don't really understand it.
Why do you think that didn't get looked at or given?
I think that because they probably thought they cocked up already with the with the
trying to even it out.
So trying to even it out. Yeah.
I suspect that referees do that. When they give a dodgy decision, and then for the rest of the game they're just giving leeway to the other team.
Of course they do.
Makes my piss boil. Right.
I do want to say one last thing though.
By all means.
Michael Edwards is a genius for getting 28 million for Rhian Brewster. I think that just wanted to add that in.
Champions League winner, mate. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Champions League winner with 5-6 minutes worth of game time. But
he's dining on that, isn't he?
He's living off of it. I don't even think has he even scored yet for Sheffield. Like, it's great, isn't it? 26 mil.
The drop-off is insane. I think the drop-off happened. Do you ever see that video where he was at the Barbers and he was flexing his Champions League medal?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the end of Rhian Brewster for me. Just like, who is this guy, mate? He didn't even come on the pitch. A quick word on West Ham. There's some murmurs. I mean, David Moyes always gets a lot of flack. I'm going to look at it objectively and say they are currently 6th on 35 points. Ahead of Man U, but they haven't won in 4, out of the FA Cup. They do play crap football, let's be honest. But they have just signed Calvin Phillips on loan. What do we think?
A weird signing for me, actually. I think he's a great player, but Edson Alvarez has been one of their best players who plays in the exact same position. Granted, he's got a little knock at the moment. Calvin Phillips hasn't really played, bar a couple of games for England this year and a few minutes here and there for City. I think it's a poor move for Phillips, to be honest.
Interesting.
If West Ham can unlock, the Phillips of Leeds, then sure, great signing. But as a loan deal, I guess they're testing the waters, right? There must be a sell-on clause or something like that off the back of that deal. But I don't know, it's it's a bit of a nothing signing. I think it's kind of just to try and make the West Ham fans happy.
Yeah, I mean, in a really turgid transfer window, it's probably one of the most exciting things that's happened so far.
Yeah.
It was always a weird signing for City as well, right? It screamed of, let's just improve our homegrown quota.
Fabian Delph, that type of signing.
Yeah, exactly.
Jack Rodwell.
Old Snake, yeah. Never forget Delph.
Fabian Delph is one of your best ever players.
Delph was captain and came out the day before he left for City and said, like, I'm not leaving. I'm here to Villa. I loved all the Snake memes, and then just left. So bizarre. Yeah, Phillips. Yeah, was just he should never have gone to City. Like, for whatever reason, it's not worked out. Like, I heard Gary Neville say he's just not quick enough, like, in his head, to play for City, which is probably fair. But I think with West Ham, I think it's just good for West Ham and good for Phillips. I do like that midfield of like Phillips, Ward-Prowse, and Souček. I didn't realise Alvarez was playing a lot, so for me it works.
The linchpin, and actually, give a shout out to James Ward-Prowse. He's had a good half season so far.
Yeah, I said.
All right then. That's part one done. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about Liverpool. We're going to talk about Darwin Núñez. We're going to talk about some other things. We'll see. We'll see you in part two. Welcome back from the back seat. We're back with part two, and we're going straight over to Bournemouth. I'll be honest, Ashley, I was really hoping for a 0-0. It was about 0-0, 60 minutes? I was like, come on, Bournemouth. Fucking do it, mate. Fucking do it. I'm still bitter about you lot coming to the Emirates and winning. In fact, I'm really angry about that. Let's not talk about that. But let's talk about Liverpool. Liverpool 2.0 to be exact. A new team. Is it a new dawn? And I want to go on a little spiel, right? Jurgen Klopp, fairly or unfairly, has been kind of labelled as someone who can't rebuild a team. We think of Dortmund, right? They had that amazing run, 2012, 2013, Lewa. Then they all got kind of rinsed. It hasn't really happened at Liverpool, but this past summer, he's really had to rebuild it from the midfield especially. So very keen, actually, to get your thoughts on Liverpool. And, what do you see for them? Because there was no real expectancy coming after a bit of a lacklustre season, right? Last season.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling? Top of the perch, 21 games in. You could do it, lads.
Yeah, I think, compared to Arsenal last season, we've got the pedigree still in the team to get it done.
How dare you?
I also know that City are capable of going on a 16, 18 game winning streak. And so we kind of have to match that par for par. It's a tough one because, like you said, it's a new team. We haven't slipped up yet. I mean, we dropped points to Luton, which I guess is a slip up, and we got screwed out of points with Tottenham. But I think that we can do it. We definitely can do it. I think that if you that forward line, you mentioned that at 60 minutes it was 0-0. Change up the forward line a little bit, and boom, away we go, right? And I think that's it. Salah's not there, no problem. Best player in the world, Darwin Núñez steps up, and then you got.
We're going to come on to that.
And then you've got Robbie Fowler 2.0 and Diogo Jota just sitting there. It's one of those, but. I think the most impressive thing of the rebuild is kind of how Van Dijk and Konate in particular have enabled this midfield just to be relaxed and be able to go, we're going to do our thing. Because we don't have a dedicated number 6 other than Endo, who's kind of been bit part, although he was one of our best midfielders sort of before he went to the Asian Cup. So Boslai is he started off really well, dipped in form. But McAllister, for me, has just been... he's just the brain on that man. He made Caicedo look like £115 million midfielder. He's made Enzo Fernandez look like £105 million midfielder. Do you know what I mean? And it really, he's the one. He's the one that should have been that, And I think we can do it. I know we can do it.
The thing is, you've been here before, and that's the difference between us last season, right? It's like we were caught in the headlines. We're going to win. Didn't win. All right, we choked when it mattered, and we know Liverpool can do it. They have the experience, and a lot of that squad have the know-how. So that's what works with them. 5 points ahead, admittedly a game in hand for City. But did you expect to be in this position at the beginning of the season?
No.
Okay, what about...
I thought we'd be top 4. I didn't think that we'd be leading pack. And I'm going to say we're still unbeaten. I want a gold trophy at the end of the season. But no, I didn't expect things to click so well. But you said about Klopp not being able to rebuild, kind of unfair. Like you said, Dortmund, his team got rinsed by the only team that's capable of constantly rebuilding in Germany and Bayern. Previous to that, he was at Mainz. They've got a budget of £2.50 for the entirety of the club's existence. So there's not really much you can do there. I think with Liverpool, even when we were going through a transition, we almost won a quadruple. Granted, we didn't. We only won FA Cup and Carabao Cup, but we still won. Last year was a shit year. Fine, but look how we've bounced back. And that's the thing. We've always bounced back. We had a season where we had Nat Phillips and Reece Williams in defence. Shit season overall. Next season, managed to bounce back. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those. I love Klopp. Right? I think pound for pound, he's probably the best manager in the world. You give him the resources of the likes of Guardiola, mate, I don't know what would happen.
Nah, you know what? I just don't like Jurgen Klopp anymore. Ever since he got laser eye surgery, he's turned into a prick for me. I don't like the guy. I just don't like it.
It's funny because I feel like him and Arteta have got a little bit of beef, and I don't understand why, because they should be uniting to take down City, right? But they just fucking hate each other.
I guess because Arteta is kind of Pep-like, right? His allegiances are with City.
Yeah, but he's
in my head anyway.
He's Pep-like, but he's not Pep. Do you know what I mean? So shut up, ply your trade.
Give him time. Yeah. Right, Dan, over to you. Let's have the unbiased opinion. What do you think of Liverpool's title chances?
Annoyingly very strong. Yeah, like
it's not
the
answer I was looking for, Dan.
No, I know. I'm the kind of the Villa fan, so I'm fairly unbiased, I think. But you guys are very cyclical, aren't you? In terms of when you're good and when you're bad. But you just look pretty solid. You're right. Konate and Van Dijk, they are looking very comfortable. And then you just look like you're going to score. And it's just unpredictable, really direct. You don't mind losing the ball, if you're attacking, and yeah, I can just see you just continuing to nick results. I think it just depends how you play against the top 6 away from home. I think that's the challenge.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think it's weird. So we've had quite a lot of injuries this season as well, but we've had players like Joe Gomez sit up, and I think that's what. Step up. Joe Gomez is playing left back, but because he's a centre half by trade, it's kind of we've just got that sureness in the back.
He's getting closer to scoring as well, isn't he?
I'm telling you, honestly, you can see him trying.
I want it for him.
I'm telling you, he's going to score last game of the season to win the league. A 40-yard thunder bastard. It's going to be the only goal of his career, but that's what I'm talking this into existence. It's happening. Joe Gomez scores a goal.
I think you should put your money where your mouth is. I think you should just lump on him each week.
I agree.
Just Joe Gomez any time.
And then add 10% every time he doesn't score and see where you end up at the end of the season. Joe Gomez, if you're listening, we're all backing you, mate, to get that first goal in Liverpool red. But Dan, you touched on a very good point.
It's not Liverpool red, it's his first ever senior goal.
Ever?
He's never scored in his
career. Joe, come on, mate, just lump up the front. Let's talk about, you touched on a very good point there, Liverpool's directness. And I think that's in no small part to the two scorers on the weekend, right? Diogo Jota, who's quietly and efficiently come back into the team and just picked up where he's left off. And he's always kind of gone under the radar. I'm coming on to Darwin. Ash, don't worry, I'm coming on to Darwin. But let's talk about Jota, right? I think he's a very effective player. He's not the prettiest, right? But his kind of close control and his ability to finish, especially in the near post, is unrivaled. And it's noticeable that the Salah absence is kind of a non-issue, right? No one's really noticing that, which is crazy. Because if we went without Saka, for example, or one of our top players, it's noticeable, the drop-off. And I think that's where Liverpool, they have the depth to go for it. And it was a real masterclass in the second half in terms of finishing. It was unfortunately a joy to watch, and it really frustrated me. So,
especially the assist for himself as well for the second, that was highly skilled.
Cheeky little step over, right?
Yeah,
he is quality. But let's go on to the main event. Darwin Núñez,
the big man,
the
best
big
player
man
in the world.
The Maverick. There's so many words to describe this man. Where do we stand on Darwin Núñez at this point in his Liverpool career? Ashley, I'm coming to you on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you ask any Liverpool fan, every Liverpool fan, it just loves Darwin.
But what is it? Because it's not the output. What is it?
It's his hair, maybe.
He's a good-looking man.
It is the output, in terms of he's constantly just there. He's kind of like Firmino on crack, but also has the ability to be Suarez. Like, it's just one of those. You're just kind of sitting there like, one day it's going to click. And for the first time, probably in his entire Liverpool career, those two finishes that he had in the Bournemouth game were clinical. The Newcastle game, that was very, very Darwin. It's just fucking full pelt, twats it across the goal, scores. But these were clinical, guide it into the goal. And if he can just replicate that, then you've got a problem. The league's got a problem in his hands. But I think that everyone just loves his tenacity. And you also don't know if he's just going to two-footed dive at someone at some point.
Yeah, it's that element, excitement. Isn't it? Yeah, agreed.
He's very Cantona-like, that Maverick just mental.
Yeah. He's a bit of a unit, isn't he, as well? That goes against him. He's a very physical player. Dan, how do you view Darwin? Because we're going to come on to a very kind of hot topic, especially on this pod. So give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I think... Look, I enjoy all of his misses, his kind of open goals and his blunders. We're always blessed to have at least one a game. He just needs to not think, right? He just didn't have time to think about those finishes in the game at the weekend, and that just helped him. But he's just unpredictable, isn't he? But
I think it's one of those. Last season in particular, and even elements of this season, Liverpool have missed the likes of a Thiago, who can ping the ball over the top, and Núñez can just run onto it and twat it. We don't also play with traditional wingers. We don't have people. I mean, we've got Trent obviously whipping in crosses, but those crosses are coming from deep as opposed to by the corner flag, where Darwin can just throw himself at them. But he's always in the right position, even when it's not, it's not going for him. And in all fairness, I think 70% of the games that we've played this season, keepers had the best game of their life against Darwin Núñez. So he's just, I don't know. I love him. I think that it will click, But however, how long can you say it will click for? Do you know what I mean? It's one of those.
Up to 18 months now.
Yeah. But you take him at Arsenal, right? That's one of those ones.
Thing is, he's a great option to chuck on because he could get a red card, he could get you 2 goals. You just don't know. Think about Newcastle away: 10 men down, 1 man down, 10 men, just 2 amazing goals. So what?
Absolute smash and grab, right? That's what Darwin does.
All right, hot debate time. Jack, if you're listening, it's time. Anyone who listens to this pod knows that Jack has an almost, I want to say unfair, but it's worse than that. He just hates Ollie Watkins. Now, Dan loves Ollie Watkins. So we're here. We're going to throw the debate. Would you take Ollie Watkins? Would you take Darwin Núñez? Villa fan, Liverpool fan, boxing gloves on. I'm going to give you a 30-second elevator pitch on why your man is better. And we're going to start with Dan. We're going to start with you.
Wow, just look at stats. Hands down, more goals, more assists this season.
Man. Okay.
Yeah,
I like
Watkins,
it.
Comfortably ahead. I think his finishing has just improved, year on year. This season as well, he's playing in a team that's got a proper system that Emery's instilled, and he knows exactly where to be. He doesn't really run the channels anymore. His link-up play is great, and I think he works harder than any striker in the league in terms of press and winning the ball back. So yeah, wouldn't even consider Núñez over Watkins.
Strong.
Ashley, what you got for me?
Well, first of all, Watkins is 28 and has only just really come onto the scene. So there's that aspect there. To Darwin being 22. Second to that, Watkins isn't miles ahead. He's only got 2 goals in the league ahead of him and 2 assists more than him. And Darwin is the first Premier League player to get 10 goals, 10 assists all competitions, excluding internationals, which, by the way, Ollie Watkins doesn't do. On top of that, I genuinely like Ollie Watkins. I think he's a great player. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned it there. He works in a system which is being built for him. Darwin Núñez can go into any team in the world, in any division in the world, and shit house and do what he wants. Because that's what he does. He's just chaos. He can make any team instantly more threatening, scary. Doesn't matter if it's Stoke City or if it's Liverpool, or if it's Aston Villa or if it's Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those, but he's just that guy. And every team would want to have a player like Darwin.
Oh, two compelling arguments there. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. All right, well, viewers, let us know who you prefer, Ollie Watkins or Darwin Núñez, because I can't
And
decide.
just to say, I'm not a hater of Ollie Watkins. My first episode
you
on the
sound
pod...
like
No, my first episode on the pod, I mentioned how much I liked Ollie Watkins. So, but I do think that Darwin's the guy. He's just better.
You both make very good points. They're almost like opposite players, because I feel like Darwin puts the ones away that he shouldn't score, where Watkins is very reliable in the 6-yard box, isn't he? He will poke it home. He will scuff it home. He'll hammer it home. Yeah. Ollie Watkins is that guy.
But Darwin's the type of person to a scorpion flick and score, right? So left foot, right foot means nothing if you can do that.
I'm gonna have to come back to it because I can't decide. Fun fact: Ollie Watkins, mother of his child, actually. I actually went to university with in Halls. So Ellie, if you're listening, good catch. Wasn't expecting that from you.
Big shout out there.
Big shout. Ollie, don't be that. Ollie, I swear I know. All right, sweet. Let's have a quick word on Bournemouth, because actually I've been very impressed with Bournemouth. Well, actually, to tell you the truth, I was very unimpressed with Bournemouth, and then I was very impressed with Bournemouth, and now they seem to be sliding a little bit back down. I guess the biggest question going into Bournemouth season was sacking Gary O'Neill the right decision? Initially, no. And then Iraola's kind of system clearly took effect, and they went on that winning run. How do you feel about Bournemouth? I actually hate Bournemouth because of their small stadium, which is like really mean. It's like small man syndrome, I guess, on my part.
You must hate Luton then.
Oh, don't even get me started. I'm glad
don't everybody hate Luton. I think Bournemouth are good. I mean, are they not third in the form table at the moment? Even with the 2 losses recently to us and Spurs. So they're a good team, and on their day, they can do it. But it's that elevation piece, right? What Villa have done, even to an extent what West Ham have done, is they've won the games that they should win, and they've won games they shouldn't have won. Whereas Bournemouth can't do that. So Bournemouth may be third in the form table, but I expect them to beat United. United are a relegation level team, but I don't know. It is a weird. They are a weird team, Bournemouth. I don't see anyone stand out for them. I don't see.
They play well as a unit, right?
They do, yeah. It's kind of like Stoke, right? Stoke never made any sense. They had how many years? Like 4 or 5 years where they sat around 10th to sort of 13th, and they played as a team, shithousing everything, right? And
I think you're being unfair on Bournemouth. They've got so much flair up front, do you not think? They've got Cliver, they've got I think it's other guy on the left wing, I can't remember his name, but they scored plenty of goals. Solanke was firing them in December, so they're just inconsistent.
I think that's the thing, right? It shows with teams like Bournemouth, you get a player like Solanke who's consistent in scoring goals. He's second or third in the Premier League for goals. I never would have thought that seeing him play at Liverpool. He did it in the Championship. Kind of did shit when they came back up.
He played at Liverpool.
Yeah, kind of did it when they were in. Kind of flopped when they went back up. And in this season, all of a sudden, he's just matured. And I think that Kluivert is a good player. Is he Patrick Kluivert's son?
He is.
It's not quite the player that his dad was.
Not quite Patrick, no.
Yeah. But,
good name though.
Yeah, it is a great name. Although he should have had a red card this week, to be honest.
Don't be like that. You won 4-0.
It doesn't matter. He should have had a red card. Should have been 10. And they were singing that Darwin was a shit Andy Carroll. So I will forever hate Bournemouth, right? Because Andy Carroll is a
brilliant
very painful point. All right.
Darwin's still got time to prove him wrong.
I think that sacking Gary O'Neill on the surface, I think we spoke about it at the start of the season. I didn't get it. I think he's done really well. He did really well for them. They kind of didn't give him the chance he deserved. But as you said, managers come in and kind of, to Dan's point, made them into an attractive team to watch. They're playing well, they're winning games, so fair play.
Fair enough. And speaking of Gary O'Neill, we go over to our last game on the South Coast. Brighton 0, Wolves 0. Boys, I'll be honest, I don't have a lot for this one. I really don't. I expected more from Brighton, and it was a turgid game. I mean, I really don't know where to start, to be honest. I mean, let's just look at the overview, right? I think Gary O'Neill's done a solid job at Wolves. which is pretty much where Bournemouth were last season, right? Same
Mm-hmm.
tactics, tried and tested methods up against, arguably one of the best football playing sides in the Premier League. It's very arguable. But they cancelled each other out. It was kind of like fire meets water, which is a really shit comparison. But yeah, it just resulted in an awful, awful Monday night football. I mean, does anyone have any takeaways from this?
Yeah, I mean, it just shows that Brighton needs someone clinical. I mean, they had 72% possession, to Wolves 28. I mean, that's ridiculous. That you have that's like prime Barcelona stats, right? And they just didn't have anyone to score because they're relying on the likes of Welbeck.
That kind of helps.
Good, yeah, he's a good player, but he's not clinical, right? You stick someone like, I don't know, Jota or Trossard back into that team, right?
Never.
and they're doing bits. So it's weird. It was just a weird game. But
I think, yeah, you're right. I think with Brighton, they had it with Potter where they just couldn't score. They dominated games and they had that problem for a long time. They seemed to solve that a bit last season. Like they were scoring but it seemed like lots of players were scoring rather than it being a central striker. I think there was plenty of opportunity last night. It could have easily been a scoring draw, and definitely Wolves were counter-attacking a bit more, but I think they had more of the game in the second half. I've heard as well with Gary O'Neill and probably seen this that he sometimes when he gets his tactics spot on, he nails it, but when he gets his tactics wrong, they're horribly wrong. So I think you can expect that as a Wolves fan. For me as a Villa fan watching this, just seeing James Milner get one more game closer to the all-time Premier League record was very satisfying. What
That's
a man!
True.
We should do an entire episode on James Milner. To be honest,
what a man!
I like that. Let's put that in the pipeline. 20 games away from Gareth Barry's record of 653 Premier League appearances.
Mental, isn't it?
Another Villa legend. There we go.
Mate, I don't know what you're cooking up in the Midlands, right? Yeah,
don't like him. We lost Xabi Alonso because of flipping Gareth Barry and Benitez's sick obsession with him. And then he fucking went to City. Oh, mate. What a nightmare.
Oh, the scars run deep. Do you think 38-year-old Milner's got 20, let's say 21 games to break the record?
Mate, I think Milner's the type of player he could go on to 45.
Do you think he'll do it till he beats the record? He'll hold
100%.
that and then he'll leave?
Yeah. And then I also think that he'll go back to Leeds as well. I think it's just... For him, he's that type of player. He'll want to end his career on his own terms. He won't care if Leeds are in League One at that point. Do you know what I mean? He'll just finish. He'll do one last season there. So once he gets that record, I think then he'll go take a step down and go from there. But I mean, he could go for years still. He's just got such an engine on him. He's hardly injured as well.
Yeah, at 38, he's still so reliable. And it's funny, isn't it? Because he was such an unfashionable midfielder for so long. And it just seems like in the last 3 years, he's become really fashionable.
So underrated. He just used to fit in when he played at City, he was fitting in with playing with Silva and just his movement. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. He'll carry on going. Look at when he was doing Liverpool pre-season, he would be winning that. When they're doing the running.
Yeah.
It's nuts. He's just built different.
Genetics, maybe. Okay, I've got one more question to pose for you. RDZ, no one calls him that. De Zerbi. There's been rumours that Pep's leaving at the end of the year, and we're going to tie in a bit of Man City, right? Because there's been some developments over the Etihad recently. Successor to Pep, what do we think?
I think that's a bit of a reach, to be honest. I think you can't. He's a great manager, but he's not Pep, is he?
But no one's going to be Pep. Do you know what I mean?
No,
so who is the
going to
successor?
be Pep, but there's plenty of managers out there who've had proper success, which is what City need. Even the likes of Thomas Tuchel, right? Been there, done it. That's going to be a first choice over the likes of De Zerbi.
Okay, but my argument here is De Zerbi plays very similar football, right?
Yeah.
So to go from Pep to Tuchel, I can't see that at City because they're so ingrained in a way of playing. So you need someone that's kind of similar. Not Arteta, obviously. But I see it. And he's also got that arrogance. I don't know if you ever heard it last season, but me and Jack kind of term it as the turtleneck wankers, and he's one of them breeds, He fits the bill. He just needs to shave his hair. I mean, Dan, what do you think?
He's got swagger, yeah. I think he could do it, but when would that happen? When would Pep leave City? Only
There's
if they
rumours.
get relegated, right?
There's rumours.
when they get relegated, yeah.
There's rumours end of the year.
The thing with Pep, though, he's just got that tendency to just go, okay, I'm done now.
Exactly.
And he's done what he set out to do. He won the Champions League. He'll try and retain it. And if they don't win it, he'll just go.
Yeah,
Quit
he
while
can't
you're
be there forever, can
But
he?
I do just think with De Zerbi, City have to give him time. Are they going to be able to afford to give him time? Because they're not they're not a historic club like United, for example, or Arsenal, where you can kind of have those down days. City start losing, they lose all of their 20,000 fans globally, and they're done for. And I think that's the problem. So like they'll want to make a statement. I don't know. It'd be someone, someone I don't know, Laurent Blanc. Like it would be someone like that. A big name. They'll do shit, but they'll do the same thing that United did when they went and got Mourinho. Obviously, they tried it with Moyes. It failed. City will skip that Moyes step and go straight for a Mourinho type figure, in my opinion.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I want to stay on the subject. So I was going to wrap up with some transfer talk, but actually I can't be bothered because there's nothing that interesting. Trippier's not going to go to Bayern. But there is something very interesting, and it's City related, right? You guys have probably heard the news. Never heard of him before, but it seems like seismic. Omar Barada, you ever heard of him? Me neither. Has left the City Football Group. So to give you context,
CEO,
the CFO, Chief of Football Operations, has jumped ship to United out of the blue as part of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's kind of takeover. Firstly, wow, why did Man United ever do something like this before if it was that easy? But my second question, is this a slight admittance that the 115 charges against City hold some weight? Because up until now, it's just kind of the assumption that it's going to go under the rug, right?
100%. He was the whistleblower. He was the one. He was the one that leaked all of the information.
Lifelong United fan.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Like, it's just odd.
Yeah.
Like, with all these allegations going on and the shit show that United is, like, it stinks of. He's got a feeling that being at City for any longer.
That's how I feel. Jumping ship, right? Before it can be put back to him.
Yeah, I think he wants to have like CEO at Manchester United on his CV as well. I think it reads well.
Yeah, and it is a step up. At the end of the day, City are a big club. They're not United. Doesn't matter how shit United are. United come calling. Unless you're a Liverpool fan, you don't go, right?
It's true, and I think if you can turn United from what they are currently and turn them into just even 20% of what the City Football Group's become, you can call that a bloody success, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have the commercial output. They can compete. They just do it really badly, in my opinion. You don't think they will?
No.
I'll be honest. I hate the idea of a strong Man United again.
I'm happy with where they are. Yeah.
I was tormented for far too long to ever want to see United get to any form of past glory again. I want them to just go into obscurity for at least 80 years. Do you know what I mean?
But would you want... Okay, so let's say United stay shit and City continue monopolising. What's the lesser of two evils there? Do you still want United to be shit?
Good question. And no, I'd rather United be United than City. I just think it's just disgusting the way that City have been able to do what they've been able to do. Like, we know that they were guilty. UEFA found them guilty. It's just because the way that they acquired the evidence meant that they couldn't press charges.
A technicality, right?
Do you know what I mean? Like, we know that they've been cheating. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm not turning around saying give Man United the trophies that we deserved because they were cheating. Fine, they can have that. It's just a tainted history, and then just fucking obliterate the club. They always talk about how they had 30,000 fans in League One at Main Road. Fucking go back then. Do you know what I mean, mate?
They might do.
But yeah, so from that perspective, I would rather see United back to not former glory, but being more United-like. But
I agree.
I just don't like City. I think they're anti-football, right?
It's a hard question, isn't it? It's like asking which lad would you like to shag your wife. It's like, I don't really know. I don't know which one I prefer. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap it, lads. I don't think is there any other business you want to cover? Anything interesting? It's been quite an uneventful week, really, isn't it?
I'm going to put a bet on with Dan.
Okay.
That Darwin, I'll bet you 20 quid that Darwin Núñez will end with more goals than Ollie Watkins this season.
Okay, what about goals
in
and
the league?
assists?
In the league.
All right, we'll keep it simple. I'll shake on that.
Ooh, the gauntlet's been thrown down. Let's see how this plays out. I want no part in this one. I want no part. It's going to be tight, man. It's going to be tight.
It is, but it's going to happen.
Well, boys, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a good one. We will be back next week. Don't ask me what the lineup is. You're just going to have to find out because I haven't actually looked at the rotation. So it could be any one of us or it could be none of us. We just don't know. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Follow all of our stuff on YouTube and Instagram and Spot. Jack's better at this than me. But yeah, thanks again for listening, guys.
Adios, people.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.